Let us take up a question from the CA Final Revision Test Paper 2025. Udit and Company is a statutory auditor of Fern Journey Limited, a company which is engaged in tours and travel. The company has an annual turnover of 1,200 crores and a profit of 150 crores. While planning, the auditor discussed the requirement of, or you can say, written representation from the management, confirming that all the relevant information has been provided to the auditor and access has been provided to the auditor as per the agreed terms of the audit engagement, that all the transactions are recorded and they are reflected in the financial statement. As an audit of the which was near the completion stage actually, so it was at the completion stage, the auditor disagreed with the management on one of the matters and including the written representation. He disagreed actually that, and he is not agreeing to the written representation given by the management, that the contending that the verbal confirmation that was given during the audit should be sufficient actually. So he said that okay, you don't require written representation, verbal confirmation what you've given is more than sufficient. That's the thing here. So now what happens here, some verbal confirmation he has taken. He said it's okay. Now separate written representation is not required. Udit and Company, however, explained that SA 580, obtaining a formal written representation from the management is mandatory. So they said that anyway, client is telling that anyway I have given you the verbal confirmation. No, don't you believe me? So why you require any additional confirmation? So the client is contending in that manner. Okay. So the Fund Journey Limited refuses to provide a written representation despite the auditor's several requests. So whether the contention of auditor seeking a written representation is justified, and what should be the form of written representation, and how should the auditor proceed if suppose a management refuses to provide a written representation. Suppose they are not giving written representation, how it should be taken actually. So now auditor is asking for written representation. Now is it correct that they have given all the complete information? So is it correct actually here? See, written representation is a statement made by management to confirm certain matters and to support the audit evidence. It's either they confirm certain matters or support the audit evidence. So it is received from the management to the auditor, and it is a necessary necessary information, necessary audit evidence. Now auditor shall request the management to provide a written representation as to whether they have fulfilled their responsibility for the preparation and presentation of the financial statement as per applicable financial reporting framework, and have they given a fair presentation as per the audit engagement. Further, auditor also will request written representation that the management has provided the auditor with all relevant information as agreed to the terms of engagement, and whatever transactions that are recorded in the books of account, they are reflected in the financial statement. So in the given case, the client who is refusing, that is Fund Journey, who is refusing to give a written representation, is definitely incorrect, and he has to provide the written representation. Here the contention of the auditor to obtain a written representation is definitely correct. See, first of all, whether management has fulfilled their responsibility that the financial statements are prepared as per the applicable financial reporting framework, whether all relevant information is provided to the auditor as per the terms of engagement, and whether whatever transaction that has been recorded are reflected in the books of accounts and the financial statement. So in this case, the contention of definitely management is not correct. Okay, auditor is right. Written representation as per 580 should be addressed to the auditor, and it should be in a written form. Now that is a thing actually here. So it is a thing. So it has to be in a writing. Now if the laws and regulation require that the management to make a written public statement about its responsibility, and the auditor determined that such statement provides some or all the representation required to the relevant matters covered by such statement. So that's the thing actually here. So whether basically what happens here, as per the laws and regulation, you have to give a written representation. Written representation is compulsory. The auditor determines that such statement provide all the representations required, and the relevant matters which are covered by the statement need not be included in the representation letter. That's the thing here. So if suppose say that's the thing, if the law says you have to make a written representation, means you need to make a written representation. That's the thing actually here. So in such case, if they have already made to the public, then fine, that's okay. Further, SA 580, if the management does not provide one or more requested written representation, then in such case, the auditor shall discuss the matter with the management, then re-evaluate the integrity of the management, evaluate the effect of this on the reliability on the other representation and audit evidence in general, take appropriate action and determine the possible effect on the auditor's opinion in the auditor's report as per SA 705, modification to independent auditor's report. The auditor shall give a disclaimer of an opinion on the financial statement as per SA 705 if the auditor concludes that the sufficient doubt about the integrity of the management about the written representation, where they are not reliable in nature actually, where management does not provide the written representation. The refusal to provide a written representation could definitely impact the auditor's ability to obtain a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. In such case, the auditor has to give what you can say a modified opinion. Finally, what happens, my dear soldiers, as per 580, written representation should be given in a form as per it's like a letter addressed to the auditor. And if the laws and regulation requires the management to make a written public statement about its responsibility, then auditor determines that whether such statement provides some or all the representation required, then the relevant matters by such statement need not be included in the representation letter. See, the law says that you have to make a public statement. That public statement itself is more than sufficient. Okay, that is how it is. Okay, so with this, my dear soldiers, I'll see you in the next session. This is a very interesting question and a detailed question on the written representation. I'll see you in the next.